exploring careers in music. Radio producer. I'd like to introduce you now to Martha Woodroof. You might have heard her name if your parents listened to NPR, because she worked for a long time at WMRA, and she did a lot of interest pieces. She'll talk to us a little bit about one of the shows that she produced, which is called The Spark. But this interview is a little bit different because her career did not specifically involve music, but it definitely had music as a part. So welcome, Martha. And if you could talk to us a little bit about your job at WMRA, working in radio, and specifically about producing the show The Spark.
I backed into radio. I was doing a season of Summer Stock, and they needed promotion. So I went into the big FM station and I said, you all need a public affairs special, where you have little catchy things promoting things like the Wayside Theater. They said, you do it. And they handed me a recorder. And before I knew it, I was up in an ultralight. Mm-hmm. And I knew nothing about sound recording. So that first, but there was slotted, so it had to go on. And what you hear is this roar of ultralight engine with somebody dimly shouting in the background. But anyway, that storytelling through sound, it's just me. It took me a while to get good at sound producing. I'm a natural interviewer, and I absolutely adore listening to people, but the technical work took me some real study. But oh my goodness, I want to advocate for the joy of getting good at something. It is such a pleasure to be able to have an idea in your head, for me, about how something should sound, and then get on a computer and diddle around with the controls and make that sound happen. At MRA, I started out as the local host of the evening news program, turned into a kind of a full-time reporter and station gadabout. They also let me do any national freelancing work that I wanted to do. It also allowed me to work with the best sound editors going, I think. Not for concert producing or something, but for what I like to do, which is storytelling with sound. I got the idea for a show that you asked about called The Spark. And my idea is that we are all stories on 2 feet. Music to me captures a feel and communicates a feel in a way that words, in a much more direct, it's sort of my feeling to your feelings without having to go through the head and put it into words. So with all my interviews for The Spark, I would use music that sort of gave a sense of, expanded the feeling level of the piece throughout it. And then I would come out with a song or a piece of music that really communicated how I felt about talking to that person. And I'll give the example of the shoes. I interviewed a guy who made handmade shoes, and he was wonderful. And what I wanted to get across at the end was how gloriously pleased he was when he produced a good pair of shoes, and how gloriously spiffy whoever had ordered that pair of shoes felt walking around in them. So I went on the internet. What a shock. And, I typed in songs about new shoes. And I found pretty quickly this wonderful song about, hey, I got my new shoes on, and how fabulous this guy's life is because he's got his new shoes on. And when you're editing sound and working with music, you don't always get this. And there are times editing sound and putting this music in, when I'd come up and the sound I'd pot the sound down. That's when you bring the sound level down lower, pot the music up, and I would nail that baby. I put some new shoes on and suddenly everything's right. And you get this in your gut feeling of yes.
Are there things about producing on radio that you find especially challenging, or what are some of the hard things about that kind of work?
I started out editing sound on old-fashioned reel-to-reel, where you actually put the sound down on tape. Well, at WMRA, hello, they're digital. So I have to say, the main guy who taught me is Matt Bengay, who's now general manager at WMRA. And I think Matt is probably the best teacher of sound editing. He'll be 105 by the time you're ready to learn. But if you can get some kind of internship at WMRA that involves letting Matt teach you about sound. It took me a while to get really loose about this and get confident. But it was like liberation afterwards, because you can express yourself in layers of sound. I don't know if it was a challenge as much as an enthusiasm. My goodness, it's fun.
It sounds to me like if a student is really interested in exploring and storytelling, and if they often listen to music and it puts pictures in their heads, that this would be an interesting line of work for them.
Absolutely. So as soon as you start getting these pictures in your head, or you want to do things with sound, podcasts are wide open. It's kind of a sound blog. And I got good by doing. That is, you learn the rudiments in these old classes that we take.
Or YouTube tutorials.
Yeah, but you get good, and you get what's called your own voice, your own style of expression through doing. So there's no young age limit, there's no, you can start at any time, experimenting with sound production. And you too can reach my vast age and just be in love with sound.
Thank you so much for talking with us.